All right, y'all. Full disclosure before I get started, I want to let you guys know there may be a slight echo in some of my audio. My mixer was a little out of sync a little bit. So if you hear a little echo, it's not on your end, it's on my end. Unfortunately, all technical issues have not been kinked out for this episode, but it's not that bad. I just want to give you guys a heads up that there may be a slight echo, and hopefully you guys enjoy the show. All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 656 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And look, today, if you're listening to this now, this episode may go up a little bit earlier than usual because I am extremely excited about this episode. I've got a few things in store for you guys. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy it. We're going to talk about Georgia Southern football and how it changed. This program has evolved in a huge way back from the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, even in the 2010s, late 2010s. What we see now is a huge change from what we've seen before. And it's not a bad thing. I know a lot of people from the old guard who used to love how we played the game of football, the blue collar mentality. You get a bunch of guys who are just rough, tough, don't mind getting their hands dirty in any situation and going out there and giving it their all for the blue collar GATA mentality. Now, that is still here, but it's evolved into something a little bit more modern, a little more dynamic. And you're seeing it from, the onset of the first game of the season. Now, we saw a little bit of it last year, but what we see now, you can tell that it's here to stay. I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on what happened this past game against the Citadel, what it's going to look like going forward, and what Coach Clay Helton said in this press conference, which was something small but very huge at the same time. Also, in this show, we're going to talk about a new little segment. Well, we're going to have a new little segment that I have. I'm going to do this for Georgia Southern, and I'm going to do this for the Atlanta Falcons. Stock up and stock down. Who's moving up, who's moving down with each team, and we're going to give some love and some highlights to some guys who you may have seen on the field but did not get the recognition that they got in both ways, if it's either good, bad, or indifferent. Now, full disclosure when it comes to stock up, stock down, I will not, and I will say this right now because I know a lot of people like to do this, but I don't do this. I will not be talking down to any of the college players. Now, the reason of that is in my book, they're still kids. They're still learning. They're still trying to figure things out. Being football players, even in their senior year, I still look at them as non-professional kids that are playing football. So this will not be, if I was to stock down a player, that would not be happening in the college ranks. I won't do that. I will do it more collectively than pointing a kid out because all these kids are trying to grow. So if you're into stuff like that, I hate to break it to you, I will not be doing that because I want to see every kid that wears this blue and white be successful in some way, shape, fashion, or form. So I will not be going at a player, but always try to give praise in some criticisms here and there. But saying that a player's stock is down in the college rankings, I don't believe that's criticism. But just to let you put full disclosure there. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. And I want to thank you guys for all the support, not only just on the podcast side, also on the YouTube and Rumble side. You guys have been amazing, giving, all the, your time, your effort to like the videos, share the videos, give feedback in the comment section. I really, really appreciate it. And we're just going to keep moving from here. So hit the like button, let people know what we're doing over here, and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. All right, let's just go ahead and get into this. Coach Clay Helton said something in this press conference, which was live earlier today on ESPN Plus. Hopefully, they don't strike me down for showing or playing this clip because I thought it was absolutely amazing what he said. It goes back to the penalties, and I know that's one of the glaring areas of this game. We did pretty good overall. Had a shutout. Can't really knock anything on the game outside of the penalties. And Coach Clay Helton said something very, very significant. And this is one of the reasons why I say it is evolving here. Because I remember all the other coaches, don't get me wrong, nothing against the other coaches, Coach, Irk Russell, all the way up to Chad Lunsford. And most of these guys were phenomenal. I mean, there's one coach we don't name back in, 06, but we don't talk about that guy. But was it 06 or 04? BVG. We just know him. We don't talk about him. But nevertheless, anyway, we are sitting here looking at the evolution of this game and what Georgia Southern stands for, because it has always been the same. You have that mentality and build off what Irk Russell built, and it is just changing to something different. And I'm not saying that this is nothing that hasn't been said before, but this is something you would like to hear, because to be quite honest, the last few coaches that was here, we didn't have this type of talk when it comes to penalties and coming to talking about player and coach relations as far as how to learn and what to build from. So I'm going to play this real quick, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on this. And just to tell you guys that this is how I know that we're building something much bigger than what we had in the past 15 years. Back in the FCS days, it was, easily we're one of the top teams in the country. But now you're starting to see bringing ourselves into the FBS, having our little struggles, still trying to deal or try to live that FCS lifestyle in the FBS is changing. And that's what I basically was trying to say. And this is so small, but it's a really big deal. So I'm going to play this, and we'll just go from there.
And then the penalties. I mean, I feel so bad for O.J. Arnold right now. 2 touchdowns taken off the board and a 100-yard day for him. We get a little bit handsy with the hands outside the frame, which is a fundamental in technique. We work a bunch, and it happens with young people. You get in there, you got a redshirt freshman center, his first time out there, and a true freshman wideout. Get a little bit excited, get their hands wrapped around the outside of a defender, and it costs us. And it's a learning experience. The biggest thing that I want to see is the improvement of that from week 1 to week 2. That's our job as coaches, is to teach fundamental technique.
All right, I'm gonna stop right there for a second. You see on the screen, if you're watching this on YouTube and Rumble, 9 penalties for 95 yards. Also, he just said O.J. Arnold missed 2 touchdown opportunities because of penalty. But the flip side of that, what he said was these were young guys that was out there. I think Katie Dorsey was one that got one of the penalties. This is his very first game as a Georgia Southern Eagle. I can't remember the other person who had the penalty, but not only just those 2, but all the other penalties that we had. These are all teachable moments. And Coach Clay Helton is sitting here saying, like, look, he wants to see that improve. He's going to pull these guys aside and teach them the discipline, teach them how to not make those penalties, teach them how to be better at run blocking, teach them how not to get false starts or blocking the backs or whatever. These are teachable moments. And also you have to understand that this is the first game of the season. A lot of guys are antsy. A lot of guys are hyped. They're ready to go. They're really ready to play. This is the type of things that you're probably going to see in pretty much every game, especially with a bunch of guys that are in this position with a new coach. And, it's still in the phase of changing over from what we had in the 3-9 season. A lot of excitement from last year. I can see it. Now, can coaching them turn this around? I believe they can. But this is just something that I really see that it's a really big deal. And I'm going to let them finish, and then we're going to keep going from there.
And assignment. And I thought we played decently good assignment football. But from a fundamental technique standpoint of penalties, we've got to do better. And when you play a UAB team that knows how to put points on the board themselves, every drive is going to matter, and you can't put yourself behind the 8 ball looking at 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 15s, drive stoppers.
Well, so that's pretty much it right there. I mean, and we're going to talk about UAB in the coming we're going to talk about UAB in the coming days. I saw a press conference with Trent Dilfer that I will be talking about that as the coach of UAB. Going to talk about what he said and what my thoughts and opinions about that team based on what they did against NC A&T, North Carolina A&T. And what I mean by what we see here, he is basically, he was upset. You could tell he was a little livid on some of the calls that was thrown out there on the sideline. But nevertheless, he pulls it back in, get these kids together. He's going to get them together and going to have these guys learning from this experience. And that's all you can do. Learn from this experience. And when I say the evolution, you got guys here that are pure bona fide athletes, or some of them are just good at the position they're in. A lot of these guys were just, from back in the day, were just straight football players that could play every position. Moving up to the FBS, we're starting to get more technicians, a lot of more guys where technique is silent to their positions. And I'm going to talk about a couple of guys who are actually evolving from that later on in the show. But you're starting to see where this team is starting to be a lot more modernized. And we kind of saw it last year. We did this with a lot of pure athletes, the Amari Joneses, the Caleb Hoods. You saw, what the other guys can do, that the Najee Thompsons of the world, guys who could play multiple positions. Now you're starting to see transfer T.J. Smith. You still see another transfer, DeMel Hickman. You're starting to see Tyrell Davis, Mark Stampley. These guys who are really good in the secondary, and that's what they're good for. They're good, not to say they can't do other things, but you're starting to see pure guys at their position. You're starting to see Davis Brin, Cal Van Treese, J.C. French look good, O.J. Arnold, Jalen White. You're starting to see traditional guys who are good at their positions. And what it's doing is it's bringing this team more into the forefront, and it's bringing a better style of football. I guess you can say a better style of football to the forefront in the Sun Belt. Right now, with the way this offense and defense is clicking, it's going to be very tough to beat a Georgia Southern team in the Sun Belt. If these guys could go and get a championship out of the Sun Belt, it's going to be a really big deal, and it's going to be because of the way they're playing this game. And now, I know a lot of people are going to look at me crazy and say, what you mean? We've always played this style of football. No, we have not. This is a different style of football Georgia Southern's are playing. And the old way was successful, but we saw ups and downs. After 2011, we got into after the 2014 season, you saw there was a change. We did good back in, the 2-10 season. We did good there. And you saw what we did in that. But now, even with all those athletes, the Shy Werts of the world and all these other guys that was absolutely phenomenal running the football and being pure athletes, you're starting to see a more traditional style, and the evolution of this offense and defense is like almost night and day. You look at the Latrell Bullets of the world, the Kadri Jackson, the Marquise Watson Trents. You got guys who are specialists at tackling, specialists at stopping the run, specialists at getting at the quarterback, specialists at, you starting to see these guys like in the secondary. We always had it. That's one thing I can say. Since we moved to the FBS, we always had some guys in the secondary that could ball. But now you're starting to see like it's oozing out to every position. And this is what I'm talking about. Like now you're going to start to see Georgia Southern be looked at. In the format is going to be looked at more like what you see in other styles of football in college. And in some cases, even in the pros. Because now we're not necessarily running option style. We're not necessarily running a read option or anything. We're just going to go straight up. Look, we're going to run the ball at you. We're going to throw the ball over the top. We're going to smash mouth you on defense. We're going to take it to you on defense. We're going to knock every ball out the air that you try to pass the ball. And that's what I mean by that. And not only that, with this 4-2-5 defense, you've got some guys in the secondary that don't mind coming down and tackling. And we're going to talk about that right now. Let's go ahead and get into this. Let's see. Stock up, stock down. This is the first segment of the season on this. Stock up, stock down. And there's no introduction about this kid right here. Mark Stampley. Stock is definitely up. Stock is definitely up on Mark Stampley. I remember when Mark Stampley struggled. I can't remember if it was the James Madison game. I can't remember. He struggled mightily as a freshman, and that quarterback picked on him. And they drove down the field throwing on his side. And that was the last time I would say the last time anybody picked on him, because Mark Stampley was absolutely phenomenal after that season. I think he also had an interception in the Georgia State game, but he played great in one of the highlights of the Buffalo game in the Camellia Bowl. Played great, and that just oozed over into the following season. Mark Stampley has been doing phenomenal, getting better at his position. Now, not only he's a nickelback, this kid is moving down like he's a safety. Couple of tackles for loss, and he has been around the ball the entire game. And Mark Stampley definitely gets a stock up for me. His stock is rising. He's probably going to be one of the best, if not the best corner on the team, because not only that he can cover, he actually can tackle as well. Phenomenal job of Mark Stampley. Kudos to him. Stock is rising on him. Now, honorable mention, and it was really tough for me between him and this other guy, Mark Stampley, and the other person I'm about to name. This kid was injured last year. He definitely bounced back from the year he was first played with Georgia Southern. Got injured and sat out for a while. He's a back safety. He's a safety for the team. One of the few guys that's from the Chad Lunsford era, Tyrell Davis. Shout out to Tyrell Davis. Let me tell you something about this kid. He not forced fumble, but he recovered a fumble in his return playing on the field after missing out last year. And he had a phenomenal offseason. Now, between him and Mark Stampley, it was very tough for me to, basically say who's going to be stock up in this category. I can almost say this is 1A and 1B because both of these guys played phenomenal. The secondary did a pretty good job. They didn't pass much, but what made things awesome for the secondary, they got after the football. It wasn't just the linebackers. It wasn't just the front seven. It was the secondary actually letting you know, like, look, what we did last year is going to change. What we did last year, we let too much go on, and the Citadel broke some runs. But when you run the spread option, that's going to happen. You're going to get one or two to get away. I mean, that's just how we at Georgia Southern should know. If you're going to get any type of leeway in running the ball against anybody, you're going to break away in some type of fashion as far as running the ball. So it happens. But they didn't. But nevertheless, these guys were after the ball every step of the way. Or fumble recovery for Tyrell Davis, and definitely stock up on him as well. Mark Stampley, Tyrell Davis, can't wait to see those. And these guys are underclassmen. So it's possible they could be here for a while, bringing the pain to all types of offenses throughout the Sun Belt. Good to see those guys get the accolades from my show, and hopefully we'll be talking about their names more throughout the season. Stock down. I don't need to say anything else about this. Stock down is definitely the penalties, and the penalties collectively, offensive side and defensive side of the ball. This is something that's definitely going to have to work itself out. Coach Clay Helton just talked about that on the press conference. Like I said, we're evolving, everybody. We're going to be a better football team week in and week out. The first week was not the best as far as penalties go, but that is a teachable moment. And their as coaches is going to get these guys in order so they'll be able to will be able to be more disciplined, so they will not make these same mistakes. But yeah, this is the stock. This is stock down. The stock is going down on the team with the penalties. We cannot have this going on with the team. And I feel that it will be cleaned up. But for right now, it is what it is. Like I said, when it comes to the college game, stock up, stock down. We're going to be giving these guys praises and accolades. But I just don't feel comfortable myself giving a stock down to one particular player. And to be honest with you, if you really think about this particular game, there's no one person to say that they did this, that, or the third, I mean, even with Davis bringing an interception, I mean, look, we got a little greedy collectively. I'm not saying that it wasn't the best throw in the world, but Davis Brin did great in this game. I mean, outside of that pass, I mean, he was phenomenal. But, I just think collectively our penalties is definitely what is a problem right now, and there's something we need to fix. But it's not much you can really, be mad about a 34-0 victory. We just need to go to UAB go to UAB. Well, UAB is coming to us, and we take care of business and go 2-0 while going to Wisconsin. Speaking of Wisconsin, before I get out of here, Coach Clay Helton also said that Keaton, the tight end for Georgia Southern, did get his 10-day. Not 10 day, but he was granted the 10 games to play for Georgia Southern. He's already a graduate of Kentucky, but he will return in the Wisconsin game and play for the rest of the season. So that is quite awesome. So he will be able to be on the squad coming to in the Wisconsin game, and that's going to be a really big game. And I will talk about that game down the road. UAB is on deck, and just to give you a heads up, I think this UAB game is a little bit more personal than the Wisconsin game, and I think we all know for obvious reasons. But I would love to get another Power 5 victory 2 years in a row. But nevertheless, let's get up out of here. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think about what Coach Clay Helton said. Do you agree with me thinking that Georgia Southern football has evolved? It is totally different from what we know back in the day or even 2-3 years ago. What do you think about that? Also, what do you think about my stock ups and stock down? What do you think about that as well? I am trying to work some new kinks into the show. Also, if you haven't checked out my Sunday Sunbelt wrap up, that is also on the channel on YouTube or Rumble. You can check that out as well. Every Sunday, I'll be trying to put something together for all the teams in the Sunbelt, give my thoughts and opinions on the scores and the stats from each team. So I'm going to get up out of here. Let me know what you guys think. I can be found on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Just full disclosure, I'm going to let you guys know now, I am trying to get this podcast on Amazon Podcast. I'm trying to work on that. I'm just waiting for the response back from Amazon, trying to get this thing to the next level. Once I go to Amazon, then it's going to be another podcast avenue I'm going to try to work on as well. But hopefully we will get it there. But it'll be all thanks to you guys. You keep pushing the show. Let people know what we're doing over here. Let people tune in. Get people in to listen to what we're doing over here. It will all work out. So thank you guys once again. I'm going to get up out of here. Thank you guys. You guys take it easy. I will see you guys on Tuesday, and y'all be blessed. Peace.